How to create wealth that outlives you. There's a family in Europe that's been wealthy for over 600 years. Not decades, not a century, 600 years. Through wars, revolutions, market crashes, and the rise and fall of empires, their wealth survived. Their children's 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 children are still living off decisions made by ancestors they never met. Meanwhile, 70% of wealthy families lose everything by the second generation. By the third generation, that number jumps to 90%. Think about that. 9 out of 10 families who build wealth watch it completely evaporate within 2 generations. The question isn't just, how do I get rich? That's amateur thinking. The real question, the one that separates legacy builders from lottery winners, is this: how do I create wealth that outlives me? Because here's what nobody tells you. Making money is easy compared to keeping it. And keeping it is nothing compared to multiplying it across generations. Stay with me for the next 10 minutes, because I'm going to show you the blueprint that the ultra-wealthy use to build dynasties, not bank accounts. This isn't about getting rich. This is about creating a financial legacy that echoes through time. Let me tell you about 2 people. Person A makes $500,000 a year, drives a Range Rover, lives in a beautiful house, takes exotic vacations. Everyone thinks they're rich. Person B makes $70,000 a year, drives a 10-year-old Toyota, lives modestly, rarely posts on social media about their lifestyle. Question: who's wealthier? If you said Person A, you've fallen for the trap that keeps most people broke. Person A is rich, Person B is wealthy, and there's a universe of difference. Being rich means you have a high income. Being wealthy means you have assets that generate income without your active participation. Rich people buy liabilities that look like assets. Wealthy people buy assets that throw off cash flow. Rich people measure success by how much they can spend. Wealthy people measure success by how long they could survive without working. Rich people ask, what can I afford? Wealthy people ask, what will pay for itself and then pay me? Here's the brutal truth. Being rich is a temporary state. Being wealthy is a permanent condition. And creating wealth that outlives you, that requires thinking not in years, but in generations. Not in purchases, but in systems. Not in consumption, but in multiplication. The families that stay wealthy for centuries understand something fundamental. Money is not the goal. Money is the seed. The goal is to plant that seed in soil so fertile that it grows into a forest that feeds your descendants forever. So let's talk about how to plant that forest. Every family dynasty that's lasted more than 3 generations has built their wealth on 4 foundational pillars. Miss even one, and the whole structure collapses. Pillar 1. Income-producing assets. This is your foundation. These are investments that put money in your pocket month after month, year after year, whether you wake up or not. Real estate that generates rental income, businesses that operate without you, dividend-paying stocks, royalties from intellectual property, bond portfolios. These aren't sexy. They're not exciting. They don't make for great Instagram posts. But they're what actually builds wealth that lasts. The wealthy understand something profound. Your job is to trade time for money so you can buy assets that trade money for more money, which eventually trades money for time. Most people get stuck at step 1. They trade time for money their entire lives. They never make the leap to buying assets, and they definitely never reach the promised land where their money works harder than they do. Here's your first assignment. Every single dollar that comes into your life must answer one question before you spend it. Will this bring me closer to financial freedom or further from it? That morning coffee? Further. That online course that teaches you how to invest? Closer. That new car? Further. That down payment on a rental property? Closer. Pillar 2. Protection structures. Here's where most people fail. They build wealth, then leave it completely exposed to lawsuits, taxes, and bad decisions. The ultra-wealthy don't just make money, they fortress it. They use LLCs, trusts, corporations, and legal structures that protect assets from creditors, predators, and even their own family members' poor judgment. There's a reason the rich keep getting richer. They know how to defend what they've built. You need asset protection strategies. You need proper insurance, not just health and car, but umbrella policies, disability insurance, life insurance structured as a wealth-building tool. You need estate planning. Yes, even if you're young. Especially if you're young, because wealth that outlives you requires planning for when you won't be here to protect it. Pillar 3. Financial education as a family value. Here's the shocking truth about why 90% of wealthy families lose everything by the third generation. The grandchildren have no idea how the wealth was created, why it matters, or how to preserve it. Wealth without financial education is just a countdown to zero. The families that maintain wealth for centuries don't just pass down money, they pass down knowledge. They teach their children about investing before they teach them to drive. They make financial literacy as important as reading and math. They have family meetings about money. They involve children in age-appropriate financial decisions. They create internships within the family businesses. They require the next generation to work, to struggle, to earn, not because they need the money, but because they need the character. You want to create wealth that outlives you? Start teaching whoever comes after you about money. Now. Not when they're adults. Now. Because money in the hands of the financially uneducated is like a sports car in the hands of someone who never learned to drive. It's only a matter of time before there's a crash. Pillar 4. Purpose beyond profit. This is the secret ingredient, the element that separates century-long dynasties from two-generation flashes. Wealth that lasts needs a why bigger than, because I want to be rich. The Rockefellers didn't just make money in oil, they built universities and funded medical research. The Vanderbilts created institutions. The Carnegies built libraries across America. When your wealth serves something larger than yourself, your descendants inherit not just money, but meaning. They inherit a mission. They inherit a reason to preserve and grow what you've built, because it's not just about them, it's about impact. Find your why. What problem does your wealth solve? What change does it create? What legacy does it leave beyond dollar signs? When you attach purpose to your prosperity, you give your descendants a reason to be good stewards instead of just consumers. Now let's talk about the actual mechanism of making wealth multiply across generations. There's a formula that every dynasty understands. Earn, save, invest, multiply, protect, transfer. Most people stop at earn. Some make it to save. A few get to invest. But wealth that outlives you requires all 6 steps in perpetual motion. Earn, create multiple income streams. Not just a job, not just a business. Multiple sources of revenue that aren't dependent on your time or health. Save, live below your means, not at your means. Below. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is where wealth is born. The wider the gap, the faster wealth grows. Invest. Deploy your savings into assets that appreciate and generate cash flow. Real estate, index funds, businesses. Don't just save, make your money reproduce. Multiply. Reinvest the returns. This is where compound interest becomes compound growth. The returns generate their own returns. Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world. Protect. Shield your wealth from taxes, lawsuits, inflation, and poor decisions. Use the legal structures available to you. Don't be clever. Be protected. Transfer. This is where legacy is born. Transfer wealth, wisdom, and values to the next generation in ways that empower them without destroying their motivation. Here's the key. This isn't a linear process, it's a cycle. You're always doing all 6 simultaneously. And here's what makes it multi-generational. You teach this cycle to your children so they can teach it to theirs. The formula becomes the family operating system. Now, I need to warn you about the 3 forces that will try to destroy everything you build. These are the assassins of legacy, and they're coming for your dynasty. Enemy 1. Lifestyle inflation. This is the silent killer. As your income grows, your spending grows faster. You upgrade the car, the house, the vacations, the clothes. You tell yourself you've earned it, and you have. But here's the problem. Every dollar you spend on lifestyle is a dollar that can't compound for your descendants. The wealthy fight lifestyle inflation like a disease. They may have the money for a mansion, but they live in a nice house. They could drive a Bentley, but they drive a Lexus. Why? Because they understand that looking rich and being wealthy are opposites. Every unnecessary expense is a tree you're cutting down from your financial forest before it can bear fruit. Enemy 2. Entitlement in the next generation. Children who grow up wealthy but don't learn the value of money become wealth destroyers. They consume the capital instead of preserving it. They see the family fortune as an ATM, not a responsibility. This is why so many wealthy families require their children to work to build something themselves before they can access the family wealth. They create trust structures that release funds based on achievements, not age. They understand that the best thing you can do for wealthy children is make them work as if they're not wealthy. Hard work doesn't build character. Hard work reveals it. And character is what preserves wealth. Enemy 3. Failure to adapt. The business that made your wealth in one generation might be obsolete in the next. The investment strategies that worked in one economy might fail in another. Families that maintain wealth don't hold on to the same companies or strategies forever. They hold on to the same principles while adapting the tactics. They diversify. They educate themselves on new markets. They're willing to evolve. The buggy whip manufacturers who refused to pivot when cars were invented lost everything. The families who saw the change coming and adapted, they're still wealthy today. Your wealth needs to be anti-fragile, not just resistant to change, but strengthened by it. Let me give you a practical blueprint you can start implementing today, whether you're just beginning or already have significant wealth. Step 1. Define your wealth legacy vision. Right now, grab a piece of paper. Write this at the top. In 100 years, what will my descendants say about what I built? Be specific. Not, I want them to be rich. That's not a vision. That's a wish. Try this. In 100 years, my family will own income-producing real estate in 3 cities, control a business that serves X purpose, and fund scholarships that Y. Make it vivid. Make it compelling. Make it bigger than yourself. Step 2. Start your first income-producing asset. This year, not next year. Not when you have more money. This year. If you have limited capital, start with a high-yield savings account or a dividend reinvestment plan. If you have more, consider rental property or a small business. The amount doesn't matter. The habit matters. You're training yourself to think like an asset builder, not just an income earner. Step 3. Create your protection plan. Meet with an estate planning attorney. Yes, even if you're young, get a will, get life insurance. Set up the legal structures appropriate for your current level of wealth. As your wealth grows, upgrade the protection. But start now with what you can. Step 4. Start the education. If you have children, start teaching them about money. Give them an age-appropriate allowance and teach them to divide it. Save, invest, give, spend. If you don't have children yet, teach yourself. Read books on investing, estate planning, business building. Listen to podcasts, take courses. Become obsessed with financial education because it's the only thing more valuable than money itself. Step 5. Document your why. Write a letter to your future descendants. Explain why you're building this wealth, what you hope it will do for them, what responsibilities come with it, what values you want them to uphold. This letter becomes part of your estate documents. It becomes the constitution of your family dynasty. When your great-great-grandchildren inherit your wealth, they'll also inherit your voice, your wisdom, your why, and that's what will compel them to preserve it. Step 6. Start small. Think dynasty. You don't need millions to start building generational wealth. You need the right mindset and the right systems. If you can save $500 a month and invest it at an average 10% return, in 30 years that's over $1 million. Let that compound for another 30 years without adding a penny, and it's over $17 million. That's one generation being disciplined, creating wealth that explodes in value for the next generation. Now imagine if each generation does that, and teaches the next generation to do it. That's how dynasties are born, not from lottery wins or lucky breaks, but from consistent, intentional, disciplined wealth building that compounds across time. Here's what I want you to understand. You're not just living your life. You're either building a legacy or wasting an opportunity. Every financial decision you make today is either laying a brick in a cathedral that will stand for centuries, or digging a hole that your descendants will have to climb out of. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, they weren't superhuman. They were normal people who understood something you now understand. Wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about what you build that lasts. And the beautiful thing, you don't need $1 billion to start. You just need to start thinking like someone who's building a dynasty instead of funding a lifestyle. Your great-great-grandchildren are depending on decisions you make today. They're depending on you to be wise, to be disciplined, to be intentional. They're depending on you to plant trees whose shade you'll never sit under. That's what creating wealth that outlives you really means. It means sacrificing some comfort today for massive security tomorrow. It means thinking beyond your own lifetime. It means building something bigger than yourself. The question is, are you ready to become an ancestor worth remembering? Your dynasty starts now. If this message woke something up inside you, don't let it slide past you. Do something with it. Hit that like button, subscribe for more mind-shifting messages, and share this video with someone who's ready to break free from the limits of average thinking and create wealth that will outlive them. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.